Okay, welcome everybody. We're going to do a tour this afternoon. Not a live tour this time here at the Stedelijk Museum because of the Wi-Fi we don't manage to do it live, so it's a recorded tour. I'm going to take you through the exhibition of Carlos Amorales. My name is Leontine Coelewij. I'm a curator here at the Stedelijk Museum, and I'm here in this room together with two of my colleagues. I'm here with Sven and Femke, and we keep a distance of, well, a bit more than 1.5 meters. So today we are going to look at some of the works in the exhibition by Carlos Amorales, the exhibition The Factory, which consists of like 15 rooms here on the first floor of the Stedelijk Museum. And it's Carlos's first survey exhibition in a European museum. Well, Carlos Amorales was invited by my colleague Martijn van Nieuwenhuizen, I think about 2 years ago, to make this exhibition here. Martijn left to become the director of the Pont last August it was, yes, and then I took over this project, and I had the chance to work with Carlos for a couple of months, also in the weeks before the opening of the exhibition, which was really great because he made a lot of the works here in the museum rooms that made the exhibition so special. Well, Carlos Amorales works with many different techniques and in many different media. So like you see video, neon, like here in this room, we have drawings, paintings, sculptures. So all the rooms are very different. Like Carlos Amorales even had a record label, so he's a very versatile artist who often works with many other artists, producers, actors, directors. And maybe that's also the reason why this exhibition is called The Factory, like it reminds us of Andy Warhol's factory. Andy Warhol also worked with many other artists. Well, here in this room, we have a work that Carlos made not so long ago. It's called Peep Show, and we see all these figures, these silhouettes. It's a repetition of heads, and they're all looking at this figure, this person over there on that wall. It's a very, I think, ambiguous kind of scene. And maybe it's got to do with voyeurism. Well, these images, they all come from Carlos's digital archive. He calls it the liquid archives. It's an archive of about, well, I think more than 1,000 digital images that he uses again and again, like building stones for his work. And he uses them in very different media, like here in neon. And neon is a very interesting material because we know it from its commercial use, like in restaurants and shops, but also in the arts, like for instance, arts like Joseph Kosuth, Tracy Emin, but also Bruce Nauman. They're artists who worked a lot with neon. And Carlos Amorales did it in a very special way because he painted the front side of the neons, the neon tubes, in black. So what you see is only the reflection of the light on the wall. So yeah, this is the first room, and I think it's a really great entrance, beginning of this exhibition. We're going to the second room. In the meantime, I wanted to tell you that we love to hear from you. Maybe you can put your remarks, your questions in the comments, and then we will certainly answer all your questions. Maybe you can tell us where you're from, where you're looking from. So here we are in the next room, and these works in this room all have to do with the city of Mexico, Mexico City. That's the place where Carlos Amorales lives. And here we have a very special work which is called Vertical Earthquake. And this work, in a way, commemorates a disaster that took place in 1985. And Carlos Amorales, He lived in Mexico City. At that time, he was only 15 years old. And it was a major earthquake. Many buildings were damaged. I think that more than 5,000 people were killed. And the whole city was a complete chaos. But there was also an enormous solidarity amongst the people who were living in Mexico. People, they had the feeling that the government did not respond well to the whole disaster, but they united themselves into like groups, grassroots movements, also in opposition to the government. So, and that moment became very important in political sense, but also in an artistic sense for Carlos Amorales. So with this piece, he made these fantastic rulers, and these rulers, they have like different angles. And here in this room, a drawing was made by using these rulers. And maybe what Carlos wants to tell us is that from something that is real chaos or a disaster, something beautiful can start, can come up, a new order. Maybe that is also something that we can learn perhaps of the situation that we are in at the moment. And I think it's a really special work. So we go to the next room. And here in this room we see the works. These are the earliest works here in the exhibition. They're all from the 1990s, and that was a period when Carlos Amorales studied here in Amsterdam. So he came here in the early 90s to study at the Gerrit Rietveld Academy and then to the Rijksacademie. And during that period, he was really investigating what it would be to be an artist, what the identity of an artist was. It also had to do with the fact that he, as a son of two artists, he wanted to find like a real place for himself, his own identity. His father was Carlos Aguirre and his mother was called Morales, so he invented this new identity, Amorales, which means amoral in English. And this character, this Amorales character, is, you could say, alter ego. Here you see a mask that he made for this alter ego. Was an identity that also other people could take up. Like here, you can see what is called the identity loan certificate. And here you can read that another artist called Gabriel Lester took the identity of the Amorales character to participate in lectures and discussions at the Rijksacademie. And for Carlos Amorales, this character was also used in wrestling matches. So he was really fascinated by this lucha libre wrestling match. It's something that's very popular in Mexico, with these figures that are, well, I think they're fictional characters with all these masks. It's very spectacular, it's a bit kitsch as well, and Carlos organized these wrestling matches, not only in museums but also outside of museums. So he really was active, like inside the art world and outside of the art world. So here you see it, that it's a match which was called like Amorales against Amorales, and it's a huge spectacle that was taking place in Mexico in the mid-90s. So we go to the next room. So there's a really nice video installation here, but I would love to go to the following room. as I mentioned already, Carlos Amorales and his team, they were here in Amsterdam in the Stedelijk Museum during 3 weeks to install the work, but also to realize a lot of works. And this is a great wall painting that Carlos Amorales made here in this room. He was here for about 3 weeks on the scaffolding, painting this fantastic wall painting. And in this piece, he combines 2 different images, different kinds of images, text. The images are from a book on body language in medieval iconography. So we see these black drawings, you can say, but they're surrounded by text, like curses and insults in Spanish and English. And for him, I think it has to do with the way, like, a lot of people communicate nowadays on social media, where there's no distinction between, like, private views and public statements, where the language that people use is often very, like, rude, like vulgar, obscene, maybe. So here it's almost like what you could call like a horror factory. Like every centimeter is filled with images and text, and they're so extreme that they're almost funny, I think. And in the middle, we see a sculpture. What's interesting in the work of Carlos Amorales, I think, is that often the images that you see, they look very simple, very clear. But by, like, adding a lot of extra qualities, they become more ambiguous and get, like, new meanings. So here, for this piece, Carlos Amorales combined 2 images from his liquid archive. One image was of a bird. You can see it, a black bird. You can almost see, like, the graphic design quality of it. And on top he added the image of a spider's web. So the lines of the web cut through the image of the bird, and he made it on the computer, this image. And then it was transformed into a 3-dimensional sculpture made from black resin. And at first it's difficult to tell, like, what it is. It looks like a bird that has fallen from the sky, like here into the middle of this room in the Stedelijk Museum. And Carlos told me that when he showed it for the first time, that was in 2008, he showed it on a fair, and it was immediately after the economic crisis broke out. And then the work really got an extra meaning, which was like the end of, like, the world as we know it. Like, things had fallen apart and could never be brought back into their old order, so to say. So maybe this is also something we can say of the time that we live in now. So we go to the next room. You hear in the background, you hear some sounds of video installations, some sound. Sound is very important for Carlos Amorales. He made this great, like, musical instrument that reminds us a little bit of the mobiles by Alexander Calder. So, but he turned it into, to something completely different. And here's a really wonderful piece which Carlos Amorales made especially for this exhibition, for this room in the Stedelijk Museum. And it consists of a lot of panels with the same strange figures that we also saw in the very first room in neon. At first sight, you might think that these are paintings, but they're not. They are woven in silk, in all different colors. And this beautiful work was made in the textile lab in Tilburg, so that's part of the Textile Museum. And when you come really close, you see that they're all made of textiles, and you see the wonderful full colors. So also images from his liquid archive. And the work is called The Orgy of Narcissus. Well, we know Narcissus from Greek mythology. And Narcissus was this figure who was really falling in love with his own image, who was looking at himself all the time. And here you see the same kind of figure as well, a bit distorted, I can say. It's difficult to tell if it's a man or a woman, but we see this repetition all the time in all the different palettes. Maybe Carlos wants to tell us that this Greek myth also has a lot to do with nowadays society, with popular culture, with social media, where a lot of people really like to post an image of themselves on the social media, on the digital media. So that's one way we can read this installation. And in the background, you probably hear some sounds, other works in other rooms. I think that's also something very beautiful in this exhibition, that the whole exhibition itself, with all these different sounds in all the different rooms, becomes one musical composition, and it's different all the time. So we go to a next room. So in this is an installation that a lot of people love, and it's super impressive. It's called Black Cloud, and the installation consists of, I think, more than 30,000 butterflies here in this sequence of 4 rooms after another. And the butterfly, of course, it's very beautiful. It's almost like a romantic insect, but with so many of these, it becomes something threatening, menacing, like it's a plague of butterflies. And what I think is really fantastic is that Carlos asked us to put off the screens, put away the screens from the windows, so that for the first time we can look outside and see the building on the other side of the street, Conservatorium Hotel. And it feels as if all these butterflies have come from the outside here into these rooms of the Stedelijk Museum. So, well, this installation started with something very personal for Carlos Amorales. When he traveled to the north of Mexico once to visit his grandmother, she was very old and he knew that she was going to die. He knew that it was the last time that he would be visiting her. He had this dream, this vision of all these butterflies, and then he started, like weeks later, went back in his studio. He started to make it, first in his own studio, then in the rest of the building, and the whole installation became larger and larger. So it became something enormous that's really completely like immersive installation. And later on, the black butterfly was also used more in popular culture, by fashion designers, and it was used for shops, and that was also something that was really fascinating for him. Well, at the moment, unfortunately, we cannot visit these rooms, but this was a real hit on Instagram, and I really hope that we will have the chance to show this exhibition again to you, and to open again soon for our public. Okay, I want to thank you very much for your attention, and we will be back again soon. Thank you.